Production funding for Arts Upload has been provided in part by the Francis Family Foundation, the Hall Family Foundation, the H&R Block Foundation, the Courtney S. Turner Foundation, the Spies Memorial Trust, and viewers like you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Randy Mason.
And I'm Maris Aylward. We're here at the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art for another edition of Arts Upload.
You'll meet Jason Aaron. He made Thor a woman and also co-wrote the new edition of a Star Wars comic book.
Also, Bob Holloway. No superheroes, but he has his own adventures in pen and ink and oil.
Plus my favorite fountain heads for Swope Park.
And a gallery that never stays in one place.
All ahead on the Upload.
Your Marvel and DC minutia, the name Jason Aaron might sound familiar.
Last year, Jason made his mark on the world of comic books in a very big way by reinventing Thor and writing the recent edition of Star Wars.
And here's the really surprising part. He lives in Prairie Village.
So John McGrath, who's been known to frequent comic book stores himself, dropped in on one of the industry's hottest properties.
Office. It's where I get to sit and make up stories every day. Kind of what I had always wanted to do since I was a kid, but it's a hard business to break into, so I just never really knew how. And I grew up in Alabama in the deep South in a small town, and then I moved to Kansas City about 14 years ago. And I always figured you kind of had to live in New York to work in comics, and for the longest time you did, but things are very different these days, and that it doesn't really matter where you're from. A lot of the stuff I do, I work with people who are literally from all over the world, like the book Scalp that I did, which was one of my first big books. That was an international team that put that together, and that the guy drawing the interiors was Croatian and lived in Barcelona. The guy drawing the covers was Scottish and lived in England. The lady who colored it was Italian and lived in London. I lived in Kansas City. The editors were in New York. And then we all worked together to do a book that was set in South Dakota. And somehow that all worked and made sense. Yeah, that's usually the question I get when if I'm at a party or something, or just talking to an average person, and I tell them I write comics for a living. They always ask, "Oh, so you can draw?" If you think of it in terms of making a movie, I'm basically the screenwriter, and that I write a full script that has the dialogue, the action, everything, just like you would see for a movie. The only difference is that it's broken down into specific images. So yeah, I'll say, this page, 4 panels. The first panel, we see the ship heading towards the landing bay. Second panel, ship's landing. We see this guy waiting with a bunch of stormtroopers. Third panel, tight on that guy, and he says this stuff. Fourth panel, the doors start to open. So, just like you would write for a movie script, you're saying everything that happens. Well, I've been writing Thor for a few years now. I did 25 issues of a book called Thor, God of Thunder. This is Thor #1, which was the first appearance of the new female Thor. I knew pretty quickly that I wanted that to be a woman for a couple of different reasons. One, it's a story we haven't really seen before. Over the course of Thor's, very long publication history at Marvel, about 60 years at this point. Over that course, we've seen a lot of different people pick up the hammer from time to time Very rarely have those characters been women. This is where she first picked up the hammer. And the women who did pick it up usually only picked it up for an issue or so and you know, slung it around a little bit and put it down and carried on. So I didn't want to do that story. I wanted someone to come along and pick up the hammer and carry it for an extended period of time and really become the new Thor. This is kind of a continuation of what I'd been doing in Thor God of Thunder, the previous Thor book. So I knew I wanted this new Thor not to be a brand new character we'd never heard of, but to be someone from Thor's corner of the Marvel Universe. So given that, you know, it all kind of made sense that this new Thor would be a lady. So yeah, you know, I wanted it to open just like the movie. And yeah, even though the book shipped 1 million copies, which no comic has done in over 20 years, it's still sold out. I got a call from my editor-in-chief, Axel Alonso, who said, "Do you want to write Star Wars?" I just said, "Yep, you know, I'm down for doing Star Wars." The Star Wars comic that we're doing, this first new one, takes place in the timeline of the original trilogy. So it takes place right after the original Star Wars, right after the Death Star blew up. So it's got, you know, all the characters that we fell in love with as kids, all the characters from those original movies, Luke and Leia and Han and Chewie and the droids and Darth Vader. And that's an ongoing series, so we'll be following all those characters for the foreseeable future. When I first got the email that the book was going to sell 1 million copies, that did give me a little pause, because that makes it the highest selling comic book in over 20 years. But I'm really proud of how it came out. You can see that the audiences are out there beyond the one that we've had for so long. You just gotta, one, reach them, and two, give them something they respond to. I'm really lucky that I get to work from home and get to do something, you know, that I really enjoy.
Arts Upload continues here at the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art, and wouldn't you know, we've got another story now about someone who puts things down on paper.
But Bob Holloway does it in journals, which he fills with sketches and drawings that he makes of the things he encounters as he travels around town.
For years, Bob made his living as a commercial illustrator, but as Julie Denechet discovered, these more recent personal works are something else altogether.
And my journal is what went on each day. There's humor in it and funny things I see, and I write in it what's happening that day, but then I illustrate it as well. And there's happy moments and there's sad moments. You know, it's life, good or bad. I've been an artist all my life. That's been my career, and it was just a natural thing to do. I just wanted to write down what I saw and enjoyed, but I do it daily. You have to do it daily. If it piles up, you forget, plus it's no fun. This particular journal is book 40. In other words, I've been doing it a while, and there's almost a year in each journal, so I've probably been doing it for 40 years. I start with the front and record which journal it's going to be. It's Bob's book 40 or whatever. Then I come to the first page, and the thought that comes to me is that, how can I outdo myself? I want something really good on the first page. You know? In here are events recorded, fun things that happen, galleries that I go to, things I've seen at the galleries. So I want something exciting on the first page. And then it gets easy. Then it's just everyday doldrums, you know. But I try to make them fun too. Thursday nights, a group gets together for life drawing with a live model. They just ask anybody to come and sit. And I love to do that. That's my favorite thing. I've dreamed of being a portrait painter, but I don't think I'll ever quite get there.
No, her leg just looked really long when she did that.
When I start a day in the journal, I usually start with a star, and I write out the day of the week as a heading for the beginning of the day. It's also my calendar, reminds me what I've got to do that day. And the older you get, you know, the better it is to remind yourself of what's going to happen. And some are happy days, and then some days pay bills, and that's a frowning face that day. I'm an art fair artist. In other words, I do art fairs. I did art fairs all over, from New England to Arizona, from Minnesota to Texas, all around, lots of places in between. I was never devoted to any certain thing till I got to art, and somehow I just felt like I came home. So that's the most important thing I think that happened, is that I found myself. And I was good at it. Maybe I had a natural talent, who knows. I found something I could do and enjoy. That's the most important thing, yeah. And that's what drives you, really. Something you're good at. This is my granddaughter. It's Gretchen with an attitude. It was Charlie's birthday, her brother's birthday, and he was getting all the attention. I looked over there. She said, "I need a little attention too." I drive around town a lot until I see something I like. I go all over. I'm pretty interested in a lot of things. This is the sketch of the day, I call it. It's the Scarrett Arcade downtown. I like all kinds of different architecture. Of course, old architecture is my favorite, but I appreciate all architecture. And I love this. This is on Gillum, and an old apartment building, and the name of it is Paradise Flats. Diaries are important and worthwhile doing. Just think where we would be in our history if it wasn't for diaries kept by prominent people like Jefferson and Adams. We know a lot because what was kept in diaries. I have friends that look at the diary and said, "Oh, I've been meaning to do that." Very few of them get started. You know? Because if you don't sort of grow up doing it, you know, it's hard to start sometimes. And you don't have to illustrate it. Maybe you're not an artist. Maybe you're a writer, and that's a great journal too. Write your own story down, because if you have children, someday they'll enjoy that. And you'll enjoy remembering some of those things.
We like to say that we're the city of fountains, and even in the cold of winter, a few stay on.
So for this edition of the feature we call My Favorite Fountain, producer-videographer Dave Burkhart headed east to find one.
To the edge of Swope Park, and a year-rounder named for a man you've probably never heard of.
We are at the Half Circle Fountain, and it's at the entrance to Swope Park on Meyer Boulevard. This is my favorite fountain because Delbert Half was the original person that drew up all the legal works that established the park board. Had it not been for his good work, we wouldn't have the board we have today. We wouldn't have the system we have today. Swope Park is our largest park. It's our grand dam, as you might say, as far as the park system is concerned. This is the grand entrance. You can see the columns here, of course, that tell you this is the grand entrance. The fountain is not a circle. The fountain is a rectangle. So why do you call it half circle? Well, because of this curved road around us associated with it. So you are in an area that's in a curved pattern, but you have a rectilinear fountain in the middle of a curved circle. I mean, if you could imagine 1940, that's several years ago. Fountain years are kind of like dog years, you know, like 7 to 1, you know. So, you know, the freezing, the thawing, and the wear and tear on the weather, and they just don't They tend to put a lot of toll on them as far as, you know, the deterioration. So it's not ever had a major renovation done to it in that long period of time. Some minor repairs, but today we need to be able to spend some resources on this to fix it. That's where the City of Fountains Foundation steps in. I think he'd be proud. He was here when the fountain was built in 1940. His name was placed with it. I'm sure he was proud on that day. Mr. Half did pass away 3 years later in 1943 at the age of 84. And of course, as George Kessler and August Meyer and other leaders of this community envisioned this parkway and how it was all built, he was able to enjoy it, and I'm sure he stood pretty close to where we are today. People should come here because it was one of the most beautiful areas in our city, which shows the great amount of open space that we have in our city to be enjoyed and appreciated.
You know, it's hard for some of us to believe that this museum turned 20 last year. Actually, the same year that its founder, R. Crosby Kemper, passed away.
And it's still going strong. Right now, they're featuring a very cool exhibition called Piece by Piece, Building a Collection.
It's art that Bill and Christy Gautreaux collected, not so much as a set, but, you know, 1 or 2 pieces at a time. They're local. The art is very global. 26 different artists represented.
It will be here through April 26. And of course, all the while, the most delicious Café Sebastian will continue to feed people in great style right here at 45th and Warwick, behind the Spider.
And to finish up this edition of Arts Upload, an example of a very different way for the public to experience art.
It's in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and the name might give it away. It's called the Axel Contemporary Gallery.
Hey, where is the heart of the city exactly? It's a really big... Mile Zero. It's a very big heart because it starts somewhere up that way and then it goes all the way down.
We're working with 516 Arts, and they have a project called Heart of the City about downtown Albuquerque.
This is Axel Contemporary. It's a mobile art gallery.
It's a place for people to show their creativity.
It's an experiment in art distribution.
It's something that we began building together, not really knowing if we would do 1 show or 2 shows or 1 show a year or how it would go. But it seemed like something that would be really fun to do.
The idea is to promote experimentation in the arts. Maybe more importantly is to bring art to people who may not normally experience art.
I find that a lot of times artists are working with galleries. They're tied into doing one kind of art. And so it was a way to be, both for myself and for others, to be able to show a more diverse body of work.
Installation projects, performance art, promoting the idea of things outside the van. We did a haiku road sign project. We asked the Poet Laureate of Santa Fe to select 32 of these. That's a really great way of seeing the community and allowing them to express themselves.
Some of the artists we show have never shown before. Some have been showing for 40 or 50 years. We were able to expose a lot of people to artwork who choose not to go to galleries or museums for whatever reason. A lot of people come to our gallery because the truck looks really cool and they love trucks. And then they come in and they see the art and they find that really interesting.
This is called E Pluribus Unum. What we've been doing is taking photos of each person. They bring in an object that they have resonance to or that is of consequence to them. And so it's not just a picture of somebody, it's a picture of somebody and something.
I just love it. I love this book so much. It's really important to me.
It's a portrait of Albuquerque. and revealing itself to Albuquerque. And that goes with this idea of heart of the city. I was toying with that notion, heart of the city. Does that mean like the central part of the city, or does that mean the spiritual heart of the city?
Your expression changes with each shot. Awesome.
E pluribus unum means in Latin from many one, and for me it is the culture, the life that we have together through recognizing the differences and individuality and specialness of all of us, the beauty and the horror, and the love and the death, and that all those aspects of being human or being animal or being incarnate in some way have a essential beauty to them.
Oh goody, come on in.
I think my perception is that people in general actually are pretty kind, and in general they're actually really there for us, for each other. We're all there for each other. And I believe that if I were to go anywhere, I would get this kind of a feeling that people are caring, people want to participate, people are engaged. It just needs somehow to be encouraged.
Well, come on in. All right. So, raise it up a tiny bit. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate this. This is awesome. This is a great project.
I'm really glad
really
that,
excited to be part
you're
of it.
here to participate
Yeah,
too.
thank you. Thank you for letting everyone come.
Spending the time here, there seems to be a lot of presence of the people, a lot of openness and enthusiasm.
Oh, they're just under
When
your
you look at these photos, you see Albuquerque reflected. You see in the clothing, in the faces.
Yeah, work the camera. That's it, girl. Work the camera. Let's see some smiles.
And in diverse backgrounds, diverse ethnic backgrounds, diverse cultural backgrounds. And I think that's a reflection of Albuquerque. We also take all of those pictures, which is several hundred, and digitally layer them together using transparent layers. So we create one image, which is one face, which is a portrait of everyone in the project. It's equal portions of several hundred people.
And particularly with this project, I find when I meet these people as individuals, it gives me great hope, great optimism. They all are sharing in the experience, and they're all very happy, and it just makes me think that a lot of what we hear about society and the horrors of it all, it's overblown. When you take each of these people individually, the experience is entirely different.
I feel like this is something we started out of a spirit of play and fun, and I don't feel like we have some deep, important message we're trying to communicate. I think the message is what people take from it. I think people's enthusiasm for what we're doing is, the message is part of that. For me, the lesson of this as a creative person, when you have an idea, no matter how strange or outlandish it is, to really consider it, consider doing it, rather than say, well, that's a silly idea, why would I do that? Well, you know, say, well, maybe that's, creativity is embracing some of those silly ideas and some of those strange ideas.
Personally, I have kind of a wider definition of art, that it's rather difficult not to make art. It's more of a choice to do something well. It's a way to express yourself, to know who you are, and then turn around and give it back.
We are once again at the end of our show. Arts Upload is just about done for another week.
But next week we'll visit glass artist Kathy Barnard and take a trip to the city's smallest theater, the Fish Tank Performance Space.
From here at the Kemper Museum of Contemporary Art, I'm Maris Aylward.
And I'm Randy Mason. See you then.
Post-production funding for Arts Upload has been provided in part by the Francis Family Foundation, the Hall Family Foundation, the H&R Block Foundation, the Courtney S. Turner Foundation, the Spies Memorial Trust, and viewers like you. Thank you.